Each and every Monday is $9 Monday at both wagertalk.com and sportsmemo.com, when all daily picks packages are priced at only $9, including 5% best bets, normally priced at $35. As an added bonus, any picks packages loaded early for overnight Tuesday or action during the week will also be priced at $9 until midnight on Monday. So make sure to take advantage of getting these $25 and $35 picks for only $9 before the clock strikes 12 and they return to regular price.
Welcome into the NFL Opening Line Report. Week number 7 is upon us. We're getting you on the right side of some of these moves in the marketplace. I am Drew Martin, joined by Teddy Covers. Teddy, happy Monday morning to you. How you feeling, buddy?
I'm feeling pretty good. We had a good weekend in the NFL, 4-1 for the clients, and now I think it's 17-8. So we're at 68% since week 1. So it's been a good NFL season so far. Real good. And we'll see if we can keep it rolling this week. Let's see if we can get you on top of what I expect to be the Monday/Tuesday line moves for this week. And obviously, we'll go through every game on the board, talk about what just happened, what we expect the markets to do over the course of the next 7 days.
Absolutely, Teddy. Well said. Let's start here. Monday Nighter, just quick hit it. Denver, LA Chargers. We're seeing Chargers mostly -4. There's a couple 4.5s for the Monday Night Football game here, Teddy. 45.5 being the total. Any quick thoughts here in Los Angeles?
This is the pros versus Joes game. The pros are taking Denver plus the points. The Joes are laying with the Chargers here, and you kind of see it in the books. It was mostly 4.5s overnight. Now we're seeing the 4s popping up. That tells us who the wise guys like in this ball game. They're taking the plus points with LA, but this line's not going anywhere from 4.5. The total's not doing anything. 45.5. It's going to stay in this same range, I would expect, between now and kickoff.
All right, let's start NFL Opening Line Report style here. Thursday night, October 20th. We have the New Orleans Saints at the Arizona Cardinals. We're seeing Arizona, Teddy, -1.5 at most shops right now, 45 being the total. Thursday night, Opening Line Report style. Where are we going here?
Let's start off the show with an emergency betting alert for Monday morning. All right, so the look-ahead line here on this game was Arizona -2, and it got bet up to 2.5. My powering number on the game was Arizona -1. We saw 2s on the board last night. We're seeing 1.5s on the board this morning, and then we're seeing a couple of 1s at leading indicator books popping up. What's going on? Jameis Winston is what's going on. There's a decent chance that Winston may play for New Orleans if the Saints have their starting QB back as opposed to the backup with Andy Dalton. I would anticipate they could go off as a favorites here. It certainly won't be an Arizona team laying points. And let's not forget, the markets haven't forgotten. Arizona's lost, I think it's 8 in a row at home or 9 in a row at home. It hasn't been much of a home field edge. They look pretty lifeless. And the quotes coming out of Arizona after the loss to Seattle yesterday, not positive quotes. So certainly, the Saints yesterday, 1 of 5 in the red zone. They allowed 3 touchdowns in 3 tries. But one of the things the markets look at, this happened a bunch yesterday, where teams dominated the running game and lost straight up and against the spread. The markets like teams that outrush their opponents 228-75, like the Saints did yesterday. They like teams that have 4 different guys that have rushes of double-digit yards. And even though there were red zone issues for the Saints, the markets aren't expecting that to be a consistent problem, especially if Winston is back in the ballgame. For Arizona, offensive line injuries, no Rodney Huston yesterday. Justin Pugh got hurt in the ballgame. Arizona's a 2-4 team. It's the second time that they've been held without an offensive touchdown. They've yet to score 30 points this season. They got 400 yards only once. It's a broken offense right now. And the defense, which has stepped up well all year, they have a little bit of challenge if Winston is back in the lineup with New Orleans. So the bottom line is I do expect some Saints money if they get their QB back. Right now, there are certainly indicators that may be the case this week.
Emergency betting alert number 1 in the books. We'll let you know if there's more with the alarm system there, done very nicely by our producer, Dan. We got the Sunday card up next here, guys. And if you're new to the Opening Line Report, we go live each and every Monday, 10 a.m. Pacific time, right here on the Wager Talk YouTube channel. We go down in rotation order, those little numbers next to the team name, 451, 452, top of the Sunday card here, Teddy. Detroit at Dallas. Cowboys, -7 across the board, home favorites. 48 being the total. Lions and Cowboys starting us off, Teddy.
Look ahead line here was Dallas -6.5. It was bet up to -7 on the look ahead line. Total of 47. My powering number for the game came Dallas 7.5. So it's slightly higher than the markets. And obviously we've seen over money. All the Lions games are taking over money off the look aheads. I got a big note from Detroit's last game in circle when the Lions got annihilated in New England. Do not trust Jared Goff versus good defense. Remember this. Of course, the Lions are a 1-4 team coming off a bye. In theory, they're hungry. In theory, they're facing an opponent in Dallas coming off a huge loss to Philly. Might not be one of these games where you expect Dallas to bring their A game necessarily. And of course, for Detroit, I mean, Dan Campbell after the Patriots loss, to me, it's about as bad as it gets. It's the worst. It's where we're at. Sometimes it's going to get bad before it gets better. I believe we've hit rock bottom. Now the only place to go is back up. Of course, they got stopped 6 times on 4th down in that ball game, and you got Goff up against a good defense again here. Obviously, Cooper Rush is coming off his worst game as the Cowboys starting quarterback, 18 of 38 for 181, 1 touchdown, 3 picks. Dallas had 10 penalties. They were -3 in turnovers. They were facing a top 3 team, and they were still only 1 play from covering the spread in that ball game. I don't take anything away from Dallas last night. In fact, Dallas was better in many ways than expected last night, even with Rush's troubles. And they're still a really good defensive team. So we may see Dak Prescott back this week now that Rush has finally lost after that incredible stretch. It gives Dallas a real easy transition back into their starting QB. If we do see Prescott back, 7.5, that was my powering number, might well be the market number. But we'll have to see if that's going to be the case.
Good start here, Teddy. Guys, huge shout out to the people that reply below on the YouTube channel. If you have any questions, any comments, where you agree, where you disagree, all is welcome right here on the reply section, Wager Talk YouTube channel. Also on Twitter, at Teddy_covers, at Drew Martin Bets. Do want to give a shout out here because it's our next game up, Teddy. New York Giants, Jacksonville Jaguars, Jags, -3, 42.5 being the total. We had Joey on Twitter, at Jamaican Sunset, write us. Trevor Lawrence became the first QB in history to lose a game with 20 or more passing attempts, a completion percentage of 90% or better, 3 more total team touchdowns. He had 1 pass touchdown, 2 rush touchdowns, and 0 turnovers. So a heck of a stat there. Appreciate it, at Jamaican Sunset on Twitter. And he's saying it was his worst bad beat ever. Teddy, I'll tell you this. I was a little surprised by this line. Jacksonville -3 over the Giants, who a great start to the season, Teddy.
A lot of people are surprised by this line. But I'll explain why this line is where it is in just a minute. Look ahead line here. Jaguars -3 and 42. My powering number is shorter. My powering number is 1/1.5 for this ball game. And yet the markets are a clear 3 across the board. Total sitting at 42.5 just about everywhere. Right now, look ahead total was 42. So we've seen a little bit of movement to the over, which I'm not playing Giants games over. But again, the Giants yesterday. Baltimore, 7 yards per play. The Giants, 3.9. They were outrushed 211 to 83. They found a way to win. They rallied from double digits behind in the 4th quarter against a team that keeps blowing double-digit leads in the 4th quarter in Baltimore. But Daniel Jones, we're not shocked that we find ways to win. I think we're confident in what we can do, and we're confident in our toughness, our ability to compete and find ways to win down the stretch. All fine and good. This is not a Giant spot this week in Jacksonville. It's a Jacksonville spot, and the markets are telling us that with the number being at 3. And look, Trevor Lawrence led the game-winning drive yesterday in the 4th quarter on the road to take a lead, which is something we haven't seen from Trevor Lawrence. Of course, the defense couldn't hold it. And second time in 2 weeks where the defense making, dumb penalties to keep drive alive that ended up in touchdowns that ended up costing them the game. Brutal beat if you had the Jags plus yesterday. But again, they had, 10 plays of negative yards on offense, 0 sacks for the 2nd straight weeks on defense. There are some concerns with the Jags, a team that is clearly better, but may not be good enough. That being said, it's a Jacksonville spot. The markets are saying it. The markets know it. That's why the line is 3, and I don't think it's going off of 3 all week. In fact, if anything, I would be surprised if the Jags take money. 3 minus juice may well be in the cards for this line as the day progresses.
From North Florida, staying in the AFC South here. Next game up, 4-5-5, 4-5-6, Indianapolis and Tennessee. We're seeing Titans, Teddy, -3, actually -2.5, both numbers available as we're talking right now. 42.5 being the total. What are we thinking here in this AFC South matchup, Teddy?
Drew Martin, when we have a line of two, a split line right now between 2.5 and 3, all right, on the keyest number there is in the NFL, we can predict which way this line is going to move. You know what we're going to do right now. Time for emergency betting alert number 2 on the show. Let me make this very clear, because I think there's some confusion out there. Emergency betting alert isn't me saying I like this team. It's not me handicapping the game. It's us handicapping the betting markets and say this is where this line is going to move. If you like this side, the time to do it is bet it right now. If you like the Tennessee Titans, the time to bet them is right now. There are still 2.5s available. The market has broadly moved to 3. There are books that aren't there yet. So you can find 2.5s with Tennessee right now. Look ahead line was only 1.5/2. It was 1.5 for the Titans, bet up to 2, total of 40. I think that's a 40. That's 43. Sorry, it's not a 7-3. Bad handwriting. My apologies. My powering number for the game is 3 for Tennessee. And I didn't go nuts raising Indy yesterday. Indy faced adversity yesterday. And I'll give Matt Ryan some credit for making some throws against the tired defense. But look, they got outrushed 233-45. The defense didn't force a punt in the second half. And they still won and covered both. The offense scored 6 touchdowns all year. They got 4 yesterday, including the game-winning drive where, Matt Ryan was overcoming adversity. But Indy's offensive line is still messed up. Tennessee's coming in off of a bye week, sitting in first place in the AFC South. 15 red zone trips, 14 touchdowns for the Titans. They maximize their opportunities. I don't love this secondary. It might be a little bit high scoring. I wouldn't be surprised at all if this total gets up and over the number. And, of course, Tennessee's got all kinds of injury concerns, not just in the secondary, but on the offensive line as well. That being said, Tennessee's clearly taking the money. If you like the Titans, find a 2.5. Bet them sooner rather than later. I would expect this market's already moving to 3 at many books. I would be surprised if it's painted 3 by the end of the day.
4-5-7, 4-5-8. Next game up, Atlanta at Cincinnati. We're seeing Bengals -6-point home favorites, 47.5 being the total. Teddy, we got the Dirty Birds here, ATL, the most profitable team in the NFL, +6 right now. What are we thinking in Cincinnati?
Look ahead line here was Cincy -6.5, total 43.5. And before the games were played on Sunday, the 6.5s were already bet up to 7, and the 43.5s were already bet up to 44. So it was Cincinnati and over money in the markets last week for this ballgame. My powering number for the game, 6.5, and the market's sitting right in this range, 647.5. Today we have seen over money for this, but I haven't seen any. That came last night. There's no emergency betting on that one. Cincy. Another team that got dominated on the ground, 228-75 on the ground. They still won the game. The defense got gashed by the run all contest. Offensive line continues to struggle for Cincy. There's pressure on pass attempt after pass attempt. But, Joe Burrow is a freaking stud, and he showed it again yesterday. That was a gutty win for Cincinnati where they faced a ton of adversity. But everyone lets them down against Atlanta. No one's excited to face the Falcons. That was a huge game last week. This is a exhale spot for the Bengals. After getting back on track in theory. And all Atlanta's doing is covering point spreads. You said it. They've yet to lose a spread this season. Mariota threw 13 straight completions yesterday. His quote, when we run the ball the way we do, make some plays in the passing game, we're very tough to defend. And, of course, going against, San Fran's defense is no joke. Arthur Smith, that's a real good defense. We knew we had to be efficient. And Marcus definitely was. Of course, Atlanta's whole game is dominate the clock, run the football, throw high percentage underneath routes. They're not punting much. They're not turning the ball over much. And that is a big reason why they've been such a point spread machine. The other thing we've seen from the Falcons is that when they're trailing, they fight. Some teams turtle and some teams fight. Atlanta's been a fight team this year from day one. That's why they've been as good as they have against the point spread. Not a team I'm in any rush to step in front of. Have the market's caught up with the Falcons yet? Not yet.
No, literally not yet. They've covered all of their games to date. So we'll see if they can stay within 6 here against the Bengals. We got next game up, AFC North. By the way, AFC North, all 500 or less in terms of straight up record. Cleveland at Baltimore. We're seeing the Ravens mostly minus 6.5 here, Teddy. 46 being the total. Browns, Ravens, next game up.
Yeah, look at the headline here. It was 6. The total was bet up 44.5 to 46. My powering number on the game is 6, and it opened 6 last night. We have seen some Baltimore money up to 6.5. We may well see some more. That being said, I'm not seeing the 7s out there for me to go, yeah, you got to emergency bet this right now if you like the Ravens. All that being said, if you like the Ravens, you probably want to bet them now. This might have been a game that I could have used as an emergency betting alert. I certainly wouldn't talk anyone out of it, but I've got a lot of concerns about what's going on with Baltimore in terms of the way they're losing. Remember, this is a team last year that goes into December. They're in first place in the AFC North. And then what happened? Got all those 2-point conversion games, got all those close losses down the stretch. Harbaugh's decisions ended up costing them a lot. So what's happened this year? Well, now we have not 1, not 2, 3 blown double-digit leads in the first 6 weeks of the season. These are not good chemistry signs. There's frustration in Baltimore that we haven't seen in many recent years. This may be their get-right spot, but we're not seeing 60 minutes of football out of the Ravens. And they're good enough to beat anyone. I mean, Baltimore, when their game is on, they're absolutely dominant. But there are these lulls, and it's been a problem. And, of course, the inability to find ways to win the close games. Lamar Jackson, quote, "It's frustrating because we're losing these games. It happened. It's over with. We have to move on to the Browns. Just can't be beating ourselves up because that's what it is. It's not our opponent." And again, they win the yards per play, 7.0 to 3.9. The rushing battle, 211 to 83. 10 penalties and 2 turnovers go a long way towards turning a team's performance south. As for Cleveland, that was pretty ugly yesterday. Nick Chubb got shut down. When Nick Chubb gets shut down, Browns offense doesn't work. The run defense was as bad as advertised. The pass defense was pretty ugly. Kevin Stefanski. Every way you can get beat. Offense, defense, special teams, coaching. We got beat. They beat us, and we also beat ourselves a few too many times. Myles Garrett back in the lineup. Quote, "The plan was they were going to run the football based on what's happened the last 2 weeks. We shouldn't have made it so easy on." Cleveland's a hard team to back. Baltimore's a hard team to back. This line's more likely to go to 7 than it is to go back down.
Making our way down the list here, about halfway through the Sunday card here. Shout out to the chat box, everybody joining us live. We got Paco Healy, Abby Jackson, Roger Long, Schmidt in the house as well. Have Cash. Thanks, guys, for joining us live. Let us know what you're looking to bet, where you think these lines are moving. All is welcome in the live chat, also in the reply section below. Wager Talk YouTube channel. Please smash that like button. We got next game up here, Teddy. Tampa Bay at Carolina, 461, 462, 1 o'clock Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific kick. We are seeing Tampa Bay laying doubles here, minus 10 pretty much across the board. A couple 10.5 starting to pop up as the road favorite, 40.5 being the total. Teddy laying doubles on the road with a total of 40. Kind of a unique profile of these odds. What are we thinking here? Bucs and Panthers.
So before the show came on, and that's the beauty of this show, is that we go on, at 10 o'clock, and I say what I give Dan a list of what I think the emergency betting alerts are going to be. And then sometimes something pops up like this, and we have to insert one where we weren't expecting to insert one because this line is moving right now. Dan, can you cue it up? Because we have an extra emergency betting alert other than the one that I told you. Yeah, this line's getting popped right now. If you like Tampa, find a 10, bet it. I would say this minute because we're seeing the 10.5. All the leading indicator books just popped to 10.5, which means that the rest of the books are going to join them in just a few minutes. So there's urgency here if you like the Bucs minus the 10. Look ahead line, Tampa minus 9.5, 41. My powering number is only 8. And last night opened 9.5, 41. We've seen nothing but Bucs money, and I understand why. All right, I want to talk about spot. All right. Christian McCaffrey had 158 of Carolina's 203 yards yesterday. They have nothing working on that offense. If the McCaffrey can't run, they're done. When you look at the quarterback play, and again, Matt Corral's hurt. Sam Darnold's hurt. Baker Mayfield's hurt. P.J. Walker's not an NFL quarterback. Neither is Jacob Eason. And those are the two options they have this week. And there's no passing game. You have an interim head coach in Steve Wilks. It's a pretty clear bet. And again, it's not an interim head coach. It's also an interim defensive coordinator. Phil Snow got fired. Al Holcomb's in there now. And the defense played okay yesterday. He played pretty well for a stretch in that ballgame. But offensively, Carolina is the bottom of the barrel in the NFL. They're facing an elite defense, coming off a loss, a game in which Brady was screaming at the offensive lineman on the sideline. A week where Brady decided to go to a wedding instead of going to walkthrough and then face the consequences. Brady's quotes, "We didn't earn the win. It's a game of earning it. It's a game of playing well and performing well, and we're just not doing a good job of that. I don't think we've done it for 6 weeks. I think we're less than we're capable of. It's all of us, our whole offense. Obviously, there's no position performing at an elite level right now. In theory, this is a circle the wagons, get right spot for Tampa. The markets are telling us that already."
Green Bay and Washington, next game up, 4-6-3, 4-6-4, 1 o'clock Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific kick in this one. We got Packers, -5 road favorites here, Teddy. 41.5 being the total. Packers at Commanders.
Look ahead line here was Green Bay -5.5, bet up to -6.5, total 43.5. My powering number for the game is Green Bay 6. The markets came out 5 and 41.5. There's still some love in the market for the Commanders. I still don't understand why. I cashed a ticket with them on Thursday night, on Thursday night this past Thursday, when they were in Chicago. And that wasn't a game that they won. It was a game the Bears lost. And that was the way that game was going down. And boy, the way they win that, they were really excited to win a game against anybody. Washington's, they're not a team I'm comfortable putting money on a regular basis, facing anyone decent. And Green Bay, a lot of issues yesterday. They only gained 4 yards per play. Aaron Rodgers took, 4.0 yards per play. Rodgers took 4 sacks. His thumb looked like it was bothering him. Percentage of drives resulting in points. Go through 2019 to 2021. Green Bay was number 3 cumulative for those 3 years. This year, they're number 24. This is not an offense that's working. All right. Aaron Rodgers, we got to be realistic about where we're at. We played a couple of subcard games the last 2. We've got to play better. But he was asked if the season is getting a little bit wobbly now that they're 500. But wobbly only if people are breaking rank. I think it'll be interesting to look at the comments from all our guys and coaches, and hopefully we stick together. That's the important thing till I see us breaking ranks. I'm not going to say there's any wobbliness going on. That's a concerning quote from me.
Yeah.
I bet against Green Bay yesterday. I'm in no rush to bet on them this week. In theory, it's supposed to be their get right spot, but their offensive line right now is broken, and the one thing Washington has that's strong, their strong front 7 on defense. It could be another problem for Aaron Rodgers and company this week, but the Packers are better than the Commanders, aren't they? Maybe the price is cheap. I don't know. This is one I'll be thinking about for a day or two, I'm sure.
Teddy, we're on to the 4 o'clock Eastern, 1 o'clock Pacific kicks now for the rest of the way. New York Jets at the Denver Broncos. Next game up here, Teddy. Broncos -3. There's starting to be a little bit of movement here, but -3-point home favorites, 42.5 being the total. This Jets team might be a little bit better than a lot of people thought at the Broncos. Of course, guys, Broncos playing Monday Night Football. If you like them tonight, maybe look to bet them, make 2 bets out of it. If you don't like them, learn this from Teddy Covers, maybe look to bet against them twice. Teddy, Jets at Broncos.
So the 2 surprise New York teams, I've got a season win total in the Giants over. I'm feeling pretty good about that at this stage. But of the 2 teams I have power rated, I have the Jets power rated higher than the Giants right now. Well, there's nothing fraudulent with what the Jets are doing. Look headline here, Denver -3.5, total 43.5. My powering number is only 1 on the game. And as you mentioned, what we're looking at right now, pretty much 3s out there. There are some 3s with juice. If the Broncos get smashed around tonight, not going to be 3s with juice in this one necessarily. And what are the Jets doing? All right, they went 1 of 11 on 3rd down. The offense was inept for extended stretches in that ball game. That's how good their defense is. And their special teams are right now. And the special teams were incredible yesterday. When you block punts and block field. Even they had a punt blocked. and they still had a A-plus special teams performance. But the key is the defensive line for the Jets. This is a Robert Saleh defensive line now. Remember San Fran and what's the strength of San Fran? It's all about up front. And the Jets defensive line goes like 7 deep. Quote Robert Saleh. Just keep giving them body blow after body blow after body blow. Just keep hitting them. Just keep hitting them in the mouth. Offensive line just keeps pushing and leaning on them. We felt like we could keep taking them down the deep water. They'll find out they can't swim. It was just a mindset. We like our D-line. Matches up from an advantageous standpoint versus anyone. Whether that's cocky or unguided confidence, whatever it is, we love our D-line. We think they're rolling a ball. We think they're a rolling ball of butcher knives. A lot of them can play at a high level. And again, I read a Jets quote last week talking about how confident they are. Breece Hall, after yesterday's game, quote, just shows we're trending upward. I feel like a lot of people expected that it would be a surprise if we won this game, but we expected to come in and win it. And they did. We'll see how Denver looks tonight, but the matchup in theory of the Jets defensive line against the Broncos offensive line, the matchup that works pretty strongly. The Jets, Jets.
Great breakdown. I like that quote too. Bringing out Nas, dragging them into deep water. Gotta like that, Teddy. If the Broncos don't look good here tonight, Teddy, just a question for you. I mean, what -2.5? How low could this number actually go in your opinion? 2.5?
Yeah, unless as long as Russell Wilson's healthy, I'm not convinced that. It's hard to say how the market's going to react. Right. But I wouldn't anticipate anything lower than 2.5 for Denver. I think if the Broncos get smacked around, but Wilson's healthy, we might see a 2.5 here as opposed to the 3. But again, anytime you talk about 3 versus 2.5 versus 3.5, those are the keyest numbers in the NFL, and those half points really do matter.
In just the flip side of it, if they end up looking good, going on the road and winning outright and looking smooth on offense, could we see 3.5, 4?
That was the look ahead line was 3.5. If Denver looks like they're a solid, no one's going to want the Jets in this spot off the back-to-back wins, off the upset in Green Bay. I just say no one. The pros aren't going to want the Jets in this spot. The Joes will, but the pros won't, and the Joes don't move the line.
All right, Teddy. Next game up, 4:05 Eastern, 1:05 Pacific, 4-6-7, 4-6-8, going down in rotation order here, guys. Houston at Las Vegas Raiders. Raiders -7 at home, 45.5 being the total.
We have a total of 4 emergency betting alerts on this show. This is number 4. Look ahead line here. Raiders -6.5 bet up to 7. Total. Look ahead total, 42.5, bet up to 43.5. It opened last night at 44, got bet up to 45. Now I'm seeing 45.5s and 46s out there, multiple 46s. This total's getting steam. Up. So if you like the over for the Texans Raiders, this is one to bet sooner rather than later. And obviously, the Raiders coming off, both teams coming off a bye. One of them much more satisfying than the other. The Raiders lost that heartbreaker to the Chiefs in a game where they played well, but 1-14, they didn't win. And the Texans won the game against Jacksonville where, it was a prickly defense performance, but a lot of it was the Jags just screwing up. And it's the Texans team that won that game. They're going to now go 1-3-1 ATS. So in theory, in a spot standpoint, coming off the bye, you want the team that's hungry off the loss, not the team that's fat and happy off the win. But are the Raiders a team anyone's comfortable laying a touchdown with? I'll leave that out there. That said, if I'm playing, I'm laying. But this line's not doing anything right now. 7-44, 7-45.5. Total wise, again, we're seeing upward motion, but sidewise, this is sitting at 7, and I don't expect it.
2 more afternoon kicks here, guys. 469, 470. Kansas City Chiefs at the San Francisco 49ers. 48 being the total. We're seeing Chiefs -3. Teddy, I got to bring up the great stat you brought up last week in terms of the 49ers being so good in that game number 2 on the road. However, it didn't work out last week. But in my notes from last week's show, they were 0-4 straight up and against the spread. First time back in San Francisco, bringing the goods on last week's show. Is it something you're rolling over into this week's show?
Maybe, but the situation is somewhat different because San Fran lost. this time around.
Right.
Last time, in each of the last 4 tries, they won back-to-back on the road back east, and then came home and looked flat, or didn't play their best game or whatever. This time, they're coming off a loss in the second of those back-to-back roadies. And I mean, the San Fran's a 500 team right now, and being priced like it. KC's got the bye next, which is something that you certainly want to be aware of. The teams coming off a loss with the bye on deck. There's extra urgency there for a team like Kansas City. Look ahead line here was only 1.5, total 47.5. My powering number is 3. The markets are at 3. This morning we are seeing 48 on this ball game. I like this quote from Andy Reid. You wonder, is there going to be a hangover from Kansas City? That was a big, big game yesterday. It was down to the wire, obviously. Andy Reid, quote, "It was a great battle. You love these games. You don't want to be sitting on the end, on this end of it, but you love the competition. You love the way the guys get after it. No stress. They're fine." I thought that KC defense played very, very well yesterday, and I would think Spagnuolo's defense has the potential to give Jimmy Garoppolo and some trouble. Now look, I mean, San Fran, when you have a healthy Kittle and Ayuk and Samuel, that's a really nice 1-2-3 combo to throw the football around. But that's about all San Fran has healthy right now. Jimmy G was throwing picks again yesterday. The offensive line is banged up. They have a ton of defensive injuries already without Nick Bosa. And Mike McGlinchey got hurt yesterday. Javarius Ward got hurt yesterday. It's a banged-up 49ers team, much more banged up than Kansas City right now. The market's certainly reflecting that with the Chiefs as road favorites against the Niners, again, in a spot where San Fran historically has not played well.
Teddy, next game up, we got Seattle and the LA Chargers, 425 Eastern, 125 Pacific kick. 52.5 being the total, -7. That is the Chargers at home. Of course, guys, a reminder, they're playing Monday Night Football. If you like them tonight, maybe look to bet them twice. If you're looking to fade them tonight, maybe look to fade them twice. There is 1 6.5 out there. Chargers is the home favorite, but mostly 7s across the board, Teddy.
Yeah, and look ahead line here for the Chargers was 7.5. The total got bet up, 53 up to 53.5. My powering number came a little bit shorter, came 5.5. And the markets, as you mentioned, mostly 7s this morning. And we actually, from the over money that came in early in the week, now we saw some under money on the total, 52.5 after the Seahawks defense played arguably their best game of the year. I mean, their defensive line played well yesterday. Their secondary played well. It's the best performance I've seen of the Seahawks defense this season. And especially after you watch New Orleans gash Cincinnati. I was like, well, how come Seattle can't stop that offense? Well, Cincinnati couldn't stop that offense either. So we kind of upgrade or dismiss the downgrade of the Seattle from 2 weeks ago because they got gashed by an offense with no receivers because another team with a better defense than they did got gashed by that same defense. And look, Seattle went 1 for 5 in the red zone. It's probably the worst game Geno's had this year. No, the worst game was the Seahawks game, or the 49ers game. But one of the worst games that Geno has had this year. They were 1 for 5 in the red zone. They still won the game by double digits. So we got to give them credit for that. And Chargers are in that bye next situation where they have the bye week coming up. The home favorites, Philly was in that spot last night. The home favorites, long term, based on the Ralph Michaels data, have been very, very good pre-bye. So teams like LA tend to be in good spots in this situation. And again, this line could well be affected by what we see tonight. The Chargers look good. More likely to see painted 7s across the board. Chargers get beat by the Broncos. Who knows how low it'll go.
He's Teddy Covers on Twitter at Teddy_Covers. I'm Drew Martin on Twitter at Drew Martin Bets. Hit us up with any questions, comments you have for the show. Also in the reply section below on the Wager Talk YouTube channel. Check out Teddy at Sports Memo and WagerTalk.com. He's 17-8, 68% since week 1 in the NFL. Is 5% big ticket plays, 45-20. That's 69% since May of 2021. Every play since February, guys, 236 and 183. That's 56% for a plus 144% ROI. Teddy Covers, Wager Talk, sportsmemo.com. Obviously knows his NFL. Next game up, Sunday Night Football here, Teddy. Pittsburgh at Miami in a game I'm going to try to attend personally here. -7 at home, 44.5 being the total. Steelers at Dolphins in Miami Gardens. Teddy Covers.
Yeah, look ahead line here. We have QB questions for both of these teams. So this line has the potential to move a whole bunch. I don't know if Pickett is going to go for Pittsburgh. I'm seeing the early week info says Tua is expected to be back up. Tua's upgraded to probable for this week. And that's a huge look. The markets have been a little bit off with Miami when it comes to the QB pecking order. All right. Tua's like a field goal better than Teddy Bridgewater in my numbers, at least. And Bridgewater is a field goal better than Skylar Thompson, who's not any good. So there's a big differential between the three QBs in Miami. And the markets, haven't – I don't think they've given Tua as much credit he deserves. I don't think they've downgraded Thompson as much as he deserves in that situation as well. Look head line here was 6, bet up to 7. So the markets expected Miami to get Tua back this week. The total also, for the look ahead wide, 42.5 up to 43.5. We were seeing 45s last night, back down to 44 this morning. So we're seeing being a bit more modest. But and we don't know if Pickett or Trubisky is going to play for Pittsburgh. Trubisky was good yesterday, man. He had chemistry with Chase Claypool. I went in there, really tried to play free, tried to stay aggressive. If I looked relaxed, I felt relaxed. It felt good. I would love to duplicate what we did. And, of course, the Steelers, with the win over Tampa Bay, has avoided their worst start in the last 34 years. So we give them credit for that. Cam Hayward, quote, "We ain't back yet. We still got work to do." They do have a lot of work to do. And, of course, the catches that Claypool was making against Trubisky, there are multiple 3rd and longs where he just made ridiculous catches. It's not like Pittsburgh's offense is marching its way up and down the field. Look, Miami's trailed in the fourth quarter each of the last 5 games. And game on the line last week, interception and fumble. The offensive line got beat up. Quarterbacks got sacked 6 times in that ball game. -3 in turnovers, 10 penalties. They won the yardage battle by more than 200. It was like the opposite of the Buffalo game, where they lost the yardage battle by hundreds of yards and ended up winning. They won the yardage battle by margin and still ended up losing because of all the turnovers and penalties and mistakes. In theory, it's supposed to be a get-right spot for Miami. In theory, Pittsburgh's fat and happy off the Tampa win. But in terms of where this line's going, it's not going anywhere. I expect it to sit at 7 throughout the course of the week, especially if Tua plays. If Tua doesn't play, the line will come crashing down. Not crashing down, but it'll trick down. But they like Bridgewater. The markets like Bridgewater more than I do. Maybe, that's what I'm saying. I made 3 points and then 3 points. And the market's been like Tua to Teddy have been like a point. And I think there's a bigger drop-off than that.
Agreed, Teddy. Guys, over 360 people watching live. Please smash that like button. We got one game left here on the NFL Week 7 slate. NFL opening line report each and every Monday, 10 a.m. Pacific time on the Wager Talk YouTube channel. The Monday Nighter, Teddy. Next week, Chicago at New England, 475, 476. Lowest total on the Week 7 board, 39.5 we're seeing right now. Also, New England, open 6. It's already been steamed. 2 full points here. Patriots -8. Teddy, what are we thinking here? Bears and Patriots.
Yeah, look ahead line was New England 6, bet up to 6.5. Total 38.5. My powering number was 7.5. The markets opened 7.5, 39.5 last night. And as you mentioned, it's been nothing but New England money. There are questions on quarterback for both these teams. I'm seeing Justin Fields is probable, but he's dealing with a shoulder injury. And, of course, Mac Jones, questionable for New England. Bailey Zappi certainly has been every bit as good as Jones, maybe. I don't know. I think Jones is the better of the 2 QBs right now by a pretty wide margin, but it's not like Zappi can't play. And we saw that yesterday. Belichick's teams, in October tend to be bet on. And Zappi's coming off of 300-yard efforts. Run defense was dominant in that ballgame. The defense allowed 98 points the first 4 games. And the last 2 games, they've been dominant. And again, it's not like Cleveland's great, but New England, if you want to talk one team that looked good yesterday, New England looked good in that ball game at Cleveland. Chicago hasn't really looked all that good in any game this season. Eberflus, talking about Fields, coming off that game that someone was going to lose and 4 shots from the 2-yard line and Chicago couldn't punch it in. Eberflus, quote, "I thought Justin Fields took a step forward. I really do. The toughness. For me, the ability to take the ball and drive it down to the very end to give us a chance to win That's what was the improvement. Were there other moments that we need to clean up and the offense needs to clean up? Sure. But we had the drives down there, and if we punch those in, the game's a different game. Good luck punching those in against New England's defense. I don't think this one is easy for Chicago. And I know the Patriots are going to be a real public play on Monday Night Football. Maybe if you do like them, you bet them now. But, you're not going to see bargains there for New England. Chicago's defense is okay. So, but this will be a clear game where all the Joes are going to be on the Patriots. So you can expect it. That's the way Monday Night Football is going to look for next week.
Sure, we're already a week out, and we've already seen a lot of Patriots money, guys. Huge shout out to the chat box, as always, guys. Brian saying great show info. We appreciate the props, Brian. Arthur, emotional critic in the house, saying steady Teddy. How are you going against a player named after you and Teddy Bridgewater as well? Some jokes in the house. Appreciate it, guys. Please smash that like button. Teddy, throw it back over to you, man. Great show, bringing the heat. Anything final thoughts here before we shut this down?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I mean, if there's a question, so going against Teddy Bridgewater, I'm going against Teddy Bridgewater because he's not. I think the markets have him rated higher than I do. And He also has this incredible long-term point spread record that forced the markets to price him higher than I do. But if you watch him in the game, Bridgewater versus Tua, there's no comparison. Tua is an NFL starting quarterback. Bridgewater isn't. So. I appreciate the comments, all the likes. Thank you guys. We're really trying to make this show the show on Mondays for NFL. We put a ton of time and effort into it, and I really would appreciate it if you like the show. Just tell your friends. The numbers grow every week, and that tells me that we're doing something right. So thank you guys. Appreciate it, and good luck this week.
Absolutely. I second that, guys. If you could smash the like button, feel free to, make a comment below. That helps the algorithm out, grow the show on the YouTube channel as well. He's Teddy Covers. I'm Drew Martin. That does it for Week 7 show. We'll be back for Week 8 next week. NFL opening line report. Best of luck with your bets until then. Thanks for tuning in.
Each and every Monday is $9 Monday at both wagertalk.com and sportsmemo.com, when all daily picks packages are priced at only $9, including 5% best bets, normally priced at $35. As an added bonus, any picks packages loaded early for overnight Tuesday or action during the week will also be priced at $9 until midnight on Monday. So make sure to take advantage of getting these $25 and $35 picks for only $9 before the clock strikes 12 and they return to regular price.